the pain you were just talking about, that was your best friend deceased, or is that?
No, the best friend, yes, my best friend, Michael Kaplan, who I dedicated Lunar Park to. He passed away in January of '04, and I had finished pretty much the final draft. Well, not the final draft, but a near to final draft of Lunar Park, and then I spent the next 8 months rewriting it and doing the final pass on it.
Mm-hmm.
The pain of his death was very specific and did not necessarily inform any other work except for making Lunar Park, I think, a sadder book, a more wistful book. Often the pain that I'm going through in my life becomes kind of an anger. Mm-hmm. And that anger then is turned into fiction and into situations and into a novel. But with Michael Kaplan's death, there was no, the anger, it was just pure sadness. And I think that sadness really infected, in a good way, Lunar Park and gave it a much more melancholy tone than it might not have had.
Okay. And how did it influence the last book?
It didn't really. I mean, that was what really influenced the last book was just, it's so interesting, the relationship that the writer has to a novel that the audience will never know about. Yeah. It's, there's like 1,000 things that were affecting me while I was working on Imperial Bedrooms. Some so personal, I don't even think other friends know about what was going on in my life at the time, or the things that I was thinking, and the things that were driving me crazy. And then, of course, a lot of people knew what was going on in my life. I was involved in the writing and producing of a very large film that fell apart, I was becoming increasingly paranoid by living in Los Angeles and dealing with the movie industry, and countless things were going on in my life that contributed to the book that Imperial Bedrooms became. But Michael Kaplan's death was not a model. That was something that's very, I don't know, specific and contained in a way, and did not necessarily lend itself to the meaning of or what Imperial Bedrooms became about. No.
Okay. And who is RT?
RT is I guess it's a private joke between me and a person who knows a lot about what was going on at the time that I was working on Imperial Bedrooms. And it's kind of an in-joke between me and a certain person. And it's funny. It's actually funny. But yes, there is an RT, and an RT does exist.
But that's the initials of that person.
It's true. It is the initials of Rain Turner, who is well, is she the femme fatale of the book, or is another woman in the book the femme fatale? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true. And RT and I have had one or two discussions about this, and luckily we've laughed a little bit about this as well. And
so RT just stands for Rain Turner.
Look, there are people, when I look at the dedications to my books, they are usually dedicated to people who influenced the books, who were a big part of my life while I was working on the book, or were very influential in terms of getting that book done. I mean, I look at Less Than Zero, dedicated to Joe McGinnis, who was my professor at the time and was the key person involved in getting that book published, getting it to an editor, to an agent, the person who believed the most in that book. And we can go all the way to Lunar Park, which is dedicated both to my father, because it's very much a book about my father and kind of an exorcism about the feelings I've had about my father, and Mike Kaplan. And so, so RT, during the years that I was working on Imperial Bedrooms, I can't mention it without smiling. I don't know, it's really kind of, was a big part of why Imperial Bedrooms existed in a way.
Okay.
That's all I'll say about that.
Okay. And you just mentioned the paranoia, which also in the book is very present.
Yes.
What's with the paranoia always?
Well, look, it's at its height in Glamorama. I mean, Glamorama is the most paranoid book I've read. Look, it happened early. It happened at 21. It happened with the publication of Less Than Zero. And it just increased year after year for a while in a way that was very difficult to deal with. It was very difficult to deal with the idea that, first of all, you're very well known. You're a very well-known person within a certain world. And that creates a kind of paranoia in itself.
Right.
That's just, you get paranoid. You get paranoid by things.
Yeah, okay.
You get paranoid by what people want from you.
Yeah.
You can't it's hard to read people anymore. Do people want to be your friends, or do people want to just use you? Do people want to get into the VIP lounge, or do people really like you and want to be your friend? Yeah. So the world becomes a strange place that you have to reread. You have to decode things, and that makes you paranoid. And also you become paranoid because, in my case, by the time of American Psycho, I was receiving death threats. So there's a lot of levels of paranoia in terms of what was going on in my life. And then there's just a point where I was dealing with it. And the book I was dealing with, where I wanted to exercise this paranoia, was with Glamorama. Because what I was dealing with was the idea of the brand. The brand of Bret Easton Ellis comes forward, and that defines you. The real Bret Easton Ellis, who's padding around his apartment, barefoot in his cargo shorts, having pizza with his buddies or whatever, is gone. Whenever Bret Easton Ellis is mentioned, a whole host of associations are cocaine, bisexuality, nightclubs, murder, vampires, whatever. Yeah, all the things that as a writer, a fiction writer, when I'm alone in my office, I'm interested in going to those places. Yeah, it's interesting to go to those dark places as a writer. As a human being, as a actual person, I'm not like that at all. That's not really what I'm into. Right. It's like Patrick Bateman, it's like, yeah, sure, I lived a kind of, yuppie lifestyle in a way, but I wasn't him, and I wasn't that crazed, and I wasn't that, out of it. There's a level of autobiography to all the works, but still. So the brand of Bret Easton Ellis being pushed forward, I don't know. It was hard to grapple with. It was hard. The death of Bret Ellis being replaced by the brand of Bret Easton Ellis was something that was very interesting and something that posed a lot of, problems for me at a certain point. And Glamorama was a way to exercise it, a way to deal with the idea of, because it's about a boy being replaced by another boy. Right. And it's also orchestrated by his father, which was another, because I'm a writer with big daddy issues, that was also part of what Glamorama was about. Yeah. I'm on a tangent here. What am I going on about? What were we talking about?
You just mentioned the death of Bret Ellis without the Easton.
But the simple answer about Imperial Bedrooms is yes. The paranoia came back when I moved back to LA, and I was working within the movie industry, and you realize that everyone lies. Everyone lies. It's a code. Okay. You have to get used to it. It's just a language. But I didn't know that because I had only worked in the movie industry from afar, from New York. I'd write scripts. Every now and then I would sell a pilot, a TV show idea, and then I would do it mostly from New York, a couple meetings in LA. But now I was fully enmeshed in television projects and a big budget independent film that I had written and produced. And it was difficult time.
Okay, but why did you say the death of Bret Ellis as if that's a different person than Bret Easton?
Because they're two different people. Bret Easton Ellis is not Bret Ellis. Okay. Bret Easton Ellis is when I Google myself, which I do daily, which I am always very interested in what people are writing about me. And sometimes you just get like people's tweets or put on your Google alert or whatever, and they say, "Oh man, just had a Bret Easton Ellis kind of night." Right. And I'm thinking, okay, what did they do? Did they hang out and watch Jersey Shore with someone while eating soup?
Yeah.
which is what I did 2 weeks before,
Right,
about 2 weeks ago. I mean, or, oh my God, met this guy who seemed like he was out of a Bret Easton Ellis novel.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, Bret Easton Ellis novel. Okay, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I guess I get who they mean by that kind of guy. Yeah, I did create a kind of guy who is in a Bret Easton Ellis novel, but that's not Bret Easton Ellis. Bret Ellis is someone else. So what you're what you're confronted by, in a way, is this thing that has been created, this collective thing that's been created about you, who you are, what people assume about you, that because of the kind of novels you write, you must be this, and this.
Right.
And you know, I'm constantly confronted by the fact that when I do meet people who've read my work, they go, "Oh my God, you're nothing like what I assumed you're."
Right.
You know, and it's like, well, good, I guess. I mean,
how did the Easton became added to the Bret Ellis?
I thought it sounded really good when I was a young, pretentious writer, and when I was taking workshops at college, writing workshops. On my stories, I decided to put Bret Easton Ellis instead of just Bret Ellis because it seemed very writerly to me.
Right.
It seemed very writerly instead of just Bret Ellis, which seemed kind of dull.
Yeah.
And I think actually it was a very smart move.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it was. I was savvier than I thought I was, and maybe a bit more ambitious. Bret Easton Ellis has a kind of grandeur to it that Bret Ellis simply doesn't have. And I often wonder if my career would have been different if I had not used the Easton and it was just Bret Ellis.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what does it say in your passport?
I don't know. I think it says Bret Easton Ellis, or I think it says Bret E. Ellis.
So Easton's your middle.
My middle name. But yeah, my professor at the time, who helped Joe McGinnis, who had helped get Lesson Zero published, asked me to not send the book out with Easton Ellis. He thought it was way too pretentious, and he asked me to remove it. And I luckily didn't listen to him. He also did not want the book to be called Lesson Zero. He wanted it to be called Winter Vacation. And I didn't listen to him then either, which I think was another. I think I was smarter than people gave me credit for at 19. I think I kind of knew what I wanted to do and the way I wanted to present myself.
Okay.